Alright, so let's jump into our first project. So this project is going to be a photo app sales website. It's not going to be the actual app, it's going to be the site that would give you the buttons to download or to visit the app store, the price, the documentation, things like that. Okay, so here are some of the features that will be and the functionality that we'll be creating. Bootstrap Navigation, the Navbar, which can be formatted in many different ways. A Jumbotron, which is basically a showcase area. It's not a slider, it's a static piece of content, but it basically you'd have maybe an image and some bullet points to explain what the application does. Accordion menu, grid system. We're going to be using the 12-column grid system quite a bit through this series. Image classes, button classes, glyphicons, which are little icons that we can use with just a class name. Contact form, so that will be a Bootstrap formatted form. A footer, and responsive media queries. And most of the projects that we do are going to be responsive, so they're going to look good on all devices. Here's an overview of the sections. We have the project intro, which you're watching right now. The Navbar and the Jumbotron we'll be doing together. Section 3 will be columns, icons, and the footer. Section 4 will be the inner pages, the accordion, and the contact form. And then in Section 5, we're going to look over and just optimize it for mobile screens using media queries. So you learn how to build a basic but clean website. Use the Bootstrap HTML components and CSS components. We'll create a showcase area with images and text, and you'll learn how to use the 12-column grid system. Okay, so that's it, and let's jump into the project. Alright, so before we jump into our first project, we're going to create a starter template. And we're going to be using the starter template for just about every project. And what it's going to be is basically it's going to be all the Bootstrap files, which is the CSS, the JavaScript, the fonts folder. We'll have a blank images folder, and we'll have an index HTML file. And the HTML file will have the head area, it'll have the body, and a navbar. Alright, so that's pretty much all it's going to be, and it's just something that we can start with, a boilerplate, I guess you could call it. So we're going to go to getbootstrap.com and click on the download button, and you want to click on this download Bootstrap, and then I'm going to create a folder on the desktop and call it Bootstrap Starter. Alright, so what we want to do is open that up and go to the zip file that we downloaded, open it, and we're going to bring these 3 folders over. Whoops. Alright, and we'll go to the CSS folder first, and we have a lot of things here we don't need. We don't need the theme CSS. We don't need this CSS.map. Alright, and you can choose to use the bootstrap.css file or the minified version. The only difference is the minified version doesn't have any comments. There's no line breaks. It's just it's the smallest size possible, and you can see the difference. The minified version is 115 kilobytes. The regular is 139. You're not really going to see any difference, at least I don't. I usually just use the CSS one. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the minified. But again, you can use it if you want. Just make sure that you type the correct file name when we include it in the index file. Same thing with the JavaScript. There's a minified version and a regular. I'm going to get rid of the minified. I'm going to get rid of this npm. We don't need that. Alright, fonts. We want to keep all the glyphicon fonts, and we're going to add a folder for images called img. Alright, and then we want to add an index file. So index.html. And let's see, in the CSS folder we also want to create a custom style sheet for us to add styles to, because we don't want to touch the Bootstrap file. So I'm just going to call this style.css. Alright, so that's our structure for the starter. Now I'm going to open up the index file with my code editor, and let me close everything else here. Alright, and I'm going to go back to the Get Bootstrap site, and we're going to click on this examples link in the right. And we want the first one here, starter template. Okay, so it's just going to basically show us the template. I'm going to do a Control U so we can see the code, and then we're just going to select all of it. Whoop. We want to select all of it and copy, and then go back to our index file and paste that in. And there's a few things we need to change. Okay, so let's change, let's get rid of the description, the author, the icon link. We don't really need that. You want to keep the viewport because we're going to be building responsive, mobile-friendly projects. So you want to keep that. The title, we can just keep that. Now here's where we're linking the CSS files. And this location is wrong. You want to get rid of this right here and have it just go to the CSS folder. And if you're using the minified version, fine, keep it this way. If not, then we want to get rid of that. Alright, and then this particular template is using its own CSS file. I'm going to change this to our CSS file, which is style. And then everything from here to here we can get rid of. Alright, so that's the head. That's all we need in the head. In the body there is a nav bar. I'm just going to keep that there. And then down here, a container. I'm going to just get rid of that. And I'm just going to have a section tag here. Alright, because most of our content will be going in there. And then at the bottom, you want to keep this reference to jQuery. It's using the Google CDN. And then the Bootstrap JavaScript file, we want to get rid of this. Whoops. We just want it to go straight into the JS folder. And we're not using the minified, so we get rid of that. And we can get rid of this hack here. We don't need that. Alright, so that looks pretty good. And one more thing, I just want to go back to this source code and click on the starter template CSS. We'll open in a new tab, and basically I'm just going to grab the padding for the body. Alright, because that's going to push it down past this nav bar. So I'm going to put that into our style.css. Paste that in like that. Save. And now we can take a look at our index file in the browser, which has nothing. Is that the right? Oh, we must not have saved it. Oh, we didn't save the index file. Okay, make sure you save it, and there it is. Alright, so this is just a boilerplate. Obviously, the nav bar will probably change. Well, it will change through each project, but it's just a place to start. Feel free to add things to it if you want. If you want a description, keywords, things like that, that's fine. So we are ready, and I will see you in the first project. Hey guys, in this project we're going to be building a simple website for a fictional mobile application called Gamma, which is a photo sharing app. Now this is suitable for our first project because it's really simple. Basically we have a landing page here, a Bootstrap formatted page. We have the nav bar, we have this main showcase area, or Jumbotron as it's called in Bootstrap. And then if we scroll down, we have these three columns here with images, text, and buttons. And then we have kind of a features section, has a background color, we have an image, we have some bullet points that are using the icons that Bootstrap offers. It's responsible. You can see that it changes. Okay, it changes to fit the screen, and you'll notice if you go past a certain point, the large iPhone image disappears, just because it's much too big and cluttered on a smaller screen. You can see as we go down to the mobile size, it looks really good. Alright, so everything fits nicely. So, and then we just have a basic footer at the bottom. Okay, so that's the home page. We also have a couple other pages, the About page. We have this title heading area. We have some text. We're using the Accordion module that Bootstrap offers. And then we just have a simple sidebar with an image and some text. And then the contact page, we just have a Bootstrap formatted form and the sidebar. Alright, so very minimal, simple but clean looking. As far as the design, I'm including the PSD files, which are basically Photoshop files of this big showcase area, and also of this iPhone with the content, with the icon, logo, things like that. Okay, basically I found this image of the hand and the iPhone on a stock photography site. So it's all free to use, and then we just have the icons here for the app stores. Alright, so what we want to do is, you can see I have a folder called App Sales Page, and that's the folder we're going to build in. Right now you just have the design folder, which has those two PSDs. Alright, so what we need to do is, I also have our Bootstrap starter folder or template that we created in the first chapter. So we're going to open that and just bring everything over. Okay, so we'll just copy that, paste that into this folder. Alright, now I'm going to open up index.html. You can see this is our starter template. We just have a black nav bar. Alright, so let's open up that file with the text editor. Okay, so this is all the starter template that we created. Basically we have our doc type in our head area, then our body's down here, we have the nav bar, and then an empty section, and then we have our JavaScript references. Okay, so first thing we want to do is I'm going to change this title here. We'll change it to Gamma Photo Sharing App. And then down here for the project name, I'm going to change that to Gamma. Alright. Now for the nav bar, you can see that the final project, it's pretty much the same thing, it's just white. Okay, so by default the nav bar in this template, in the sample template that we got, it's black. So we can change that just by removing one class. Okay, you'll see this nav tag has a class of navbar inverse. You want to change this to navbar default. Save that, and then we reload, and now it's white. Alright, now the only other thing we need to do with this navbar is I want to change the color. You can see that we have this green color here. Alright, so what we need to do is have a class for our text to be green like that. Alright, now you could do something like green text, but that's not good semantics, because you may one day want to change this to red, change the overall scheme of the template red, and this isn't going to make sense anymore. So I'm going to use the class mtext for emphasis. Okay, so what we'll do is open up the style CSS, which should only have this in it, which is the padding top for the to take up the space for the nav bar. Alright, so let's add a class here called mText, and then the color, let's see, it's what is it? It's 1CAA98. Okay, so now if we reload, I don't think we saved the index file, did we? Okay, it's still not. A class, Navbar brand, mText. It's weird. Just check it out with Chrome tools. mText. Is this even... Okay, style.css. That's really weird. Navbar brand mText. You know what? Let's add an important flag on it. Okay, so we just want to say important. Alright, so that works. Sometimes you need to override things with Bootstrap because it's taking the style from the core Bootstrap CSS. Alright, so now that that's green, that's good. You can see it looks exactly like the final project. Alright, so that's really easy, especially where we're actually using an about and contact page. Okay, so the next thing is going to be the Jumbotron, which is the big showcase area. Alright, and if we go to the getbootstrap.com/components, you can see down here we have a link for the Jumbotron. And this is what it looks like by default. It's just a big area with a background, has a big heading, has some paragraph text, and a button. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to actually copy this little snippet right here. And I'm going to put it right above the section tag and right below the nav tags. And we just want to space this out. Alright, so I'll save that and we can just see what that looks like. Okay, so this is what it looks like by default. Now, you'll notice that the content is flushed up against the side, and that looks really ugly. And the reason for that is that we didn't include the container class. The container class basically brings everything into the middle and gives it margin. It just pushes everything to the middle, really. So what we need to do is inside of the Jumbotron class, we're going to say div class equals container, and we want to end that right here. Okay. And now if I save that and reload, you can see that it gets pushed into the middle, and it stays in the middle no matter what, even if we go down to the mobile view. Alright, so you always want to have a container. Now the reason that I put it inside of the Jumbotron div and not outside is because if I put it on the outside, actually I'll just show you real quick. If we do that and reload, you can see now the background ends at the container as well, instead of covering through the whole page. And you may want that, so this is fine if this is how you want it. But I would prefer to have the background stretch beyond the container. So I put it inside. Alright. Now, we need to obviously change a few things here. We're going to be using the grid, the Bootstrap grid, in the Jumbotron, and we're going to be using it a lot through this series. And let me just see if I can bring that up.